Everyone, Moon Mama here, and today I'm going to do my fan theory on who I believe Negan's gonna kill in the Walking Dead season premiere. I've done a lot of research. I've taken the time over the summer. I've rewatched the episode a lot. I'm ashamed to admit how much. It's kind of sad. I've had a couple of different points of views from it. I've had my daughter watch it with me as well. And I think I have an idea of who it is going to be. Now, before you get too far ahead, spoilers. So if you haven't watched, click off, ignore this, yada yada yada, you've been warned. Okay, we all know if you read the comics, it should be Glenn who gets Lucille. But the writers and producers have already said what happens in the comic is a mirror image. Not even really a mirror, it's almost like a parallel universe. Even though it happened in the comics, it's going to happen differently in the show because they don't want to have them identical because the comics come out first. So by the time you watch the show, you already know what's going to happen. So they've already stated that the comics are not necessarily how it's going to happen when they do the show. And it's more like a parallel universe idea. Same characters, same story, just little bits are different. Okay? So in the comics, we all know it's Glenn. Now, my thought on who it's going to be now, there's a long list. I am going to read it, so if I'm not doing a lot of eye contact, I'm sorry. There's a lot to go over. And I'm think about it. I believe it is Michonne that is going to get Lucille. Okay? And this is why. The POV shot at the beginning, all the way through the show, every time I come back from a commercial, it was first person view idea. We know it was Michonne because when they finally take all the characters out of the back of the truck, the only person that has just a view of Daryl's head, and Daryl alone, is Michonne. She's the only one. If it were Glenn, Glenn would see all three heads. He would see Rosita's, Michonne's, and Daryl's. Three heads. Rosita would only see Michonne and Daryl's. Michonne is the only one that only sees Daryl in front of her. We know Daryl's at the back, closest to the doors, so when they open, he's the first one pulled out. Okay? So, they start the entire show, and all back from all the commercial breaks, in Michonne's point of view. Michonne is also the only character that did not have the bat in her face. If you go back and you watch it, because now I know a lot of you are going to, if you haven't already clued into this, Michonne, like when he was singing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, and he was moving the bat around, everybody else has a shot of their face and the bat, except for Michonne.
This in our pants yet?
The only time you see the bat, which could possibly be Michonne's, and I believe it is Michonne, is the POV view. There's always one person POV view with the bat. That's the only person who never has the bat in their face. I don't know if that makes sense. I know it's not quite coming out the way I want it to. But Michonne is the only one without the bat in her face from Negan's point of view. But there is one POV point of view which with the bat in the face, and I believe that is Michonne's. Michonne and Rick are the only substitutes. Again, spoilers. Okay, spoilers. Michonne and Rick are the only substitute for the Glenn and Maggie story. Instead of Glenn dying and Maggie going down a road and changing, and things happening and pushing her down a road she would not normally go down, Michonne dies. It could be Rick that changes and goes down that road instead. In the comics, Judith does not exist. Therefore, Maggie could lose the baby, and Judith could take over that part as well to fit in with the whole Michonne, Rick taking over the Glenn Maggie story. When you see Michonne's face just before, there was no bat in her face, but she has this look of realization that it's her. Like she's following the counts of the Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo's, and then you see at this one point, like she's ahead of the count, where she realizes, oh shit, it's going to be me. She has this distinct look in her eye, like the realization hits her. So go back and check it. Watch it again. Also, if you do the eeny, meeny, miny, mo stuff, if you do it in order of the lineup, it will land on her. The show already explained that they purposely jumbled up the views and threw it off because people like us who would want to know the answer early would just use the eeny, meeny, miny, mo and know it. Therefore, even though they were going eeny, meeny, miny, mo in order, they were showing us the wrong faces and mixing everything up. Okay? So therefore, if you do it right, starting with Rick and you go from Rick's right, it
Go! Go!
we cannot follow what they say on the show or what the show has shown us, as it's mixed up on purpose to throw our logic off. But if we go with the actual logic of how eeny, meeny, miny, mo is played, it would be in that order. So far, okay? When Rick said stop this, we get a glimpse of where Negan is standing. He is standing in front of Abe and Michonne. This is done just before he starts the you can breathe stuff. Okay? Now, if you pay attention, when he says you can breathe, he looks to his left, looking towards Glenn, saying like, you can breathe, it's not you. Then he glances right. I say, Abe, you can blink. Why? Because Abe did the whole peacock stand up and stared him down, so you can blink. Then he glances directly beside who he kills and says, you can cry. Looking at Daryl, who's already having a hard time holding it together with being in pain and damaged and knowing someone's going to die and there's nothing he can do because he is too weak. So I think he was looking at Daryl when he says, you can cry. And then, of course, he smashes somebody in the POV again. You know my spots on my thoughts on how the POV works. I believe it's the same person the entire time. Okay? The best way to get the group to listen and to follow so that they will join, because that's what they do. They're going to take out one and get the rest to hopefully follow along, join, and behave. Women for breeding and cooking and stuff, and the men to do what men do in the show. So the best way for this to happen is to break the leader. Most people I know, you're jumping to, well, he's going to kill Carl then. No. Keeping Carl alive is the way to keep Rick in check from here on out. But killing his love interest is the fastest way to break him. Once the leader is broken, everyone else is going to kind of follow. Well, you know, for a little bit before the group kind of gets back together and does what the group does. But in Negan's thinking, he's hoping that he breaks their leader. Everybody else is just going to follow. Okay? When they met on the roadblock, the focus was on the fact that it was Michonne's hair and vest. They hardly even noticed Daryl's arrows, and there was nothing else from the other two. So Rick knows they have her. No point in pointing out that it was her and putting some emphasis on Michonne's hair if she's going to live. My thoughts, right? When one of the saviors is talking directly to Rick, he says, it could be your last day on Earth or one of your loved ones. The only people Rick truly loves, loves, is Carl, Judas, and Michonne, because his other love is already dead. Right? So is this foreshadowing Michonne's death? Maybe. At the end, there is 2 POV views in the eeny, meeny, miny, mo count. Yes, I'm going back to that, I know. eeny, meeny, miny count that has the bat in the face. I believe that these are both Michonne as well, as it's always been her POV up to this point. And therefore it makes sense that they're going to start it out, the show, in her point of view, and do all this stuff in her point of view. So with that thought in mind, that would mean that when the bat is in the face of the POV, it is Michonne. Also, when Negan first hits the person, he sounds kind of shocked, like when they got back up. He even said, "Whoa, taking it like a champ." Sounds like something you would say to someone after you hit them when you're hitting a woman. You don't expect them to get back up and be all, "Give me more" type thing. You expect one hit and the woman is out. Would not expect that from Abe. He totally expects Abe would get back up. Totally expects Rick to get back up. And most of them, really. Except for the women. The only women, again, you also got to point in, we know he's on this side. I'm bad with my lefts and rights and I don't have it written down. This side of Rick. So it has to be Daryl, has to be Glenn, Daryl, Michonne, Abe. It's one of those ones are on this side of Rick. So it's one of them. Glenn, he would totally expect. Like, Glenn has been a fighter the entire time. He's going to expect Glenn to get back up. And he's going to expect Abe to get back up. The only two he's not going to expect to get up is Rosita and Michonne. But then again, you got to look at the fact of there was nothing on those zombie chain, the Red Rover zombies, really to point out Rosita. So again, I think she's pretty good in my eyes. Now, it was stated there were hints and clues throughout the season on who it would be. So let's look back. So let's look back. It said that whoever it is will be a shock to the viewers, but will also be a huge impact on the group. So you got to look at that. Death of Rosita, the only person it would have, Rosita's death would have an impact on, really, would be Abe, and he'd feel guilty. And why can I not think of her name? The other girl that Abe ends up leaving Rosita for. Cannot think of her name all of a sudden. Those two are the only ones that would really have, it would have an impact for if Rosita died. Daryl dying would have a huge impact, but then the riots from the fans would be no. Just wouldn't happen. And they've also stated before that they're planning that if they are ever going to kill off Daryl, it is going to be when the ratings drop and they really need to grab people's attention. That is when they will kill him off. So unless they've changed that, Daryl's safe. So those people wouldn't have an impact. He's trying to break Rick, not kill him. They want to break the leader, because if they kill the leader, somebody else will just step up as the leader. But if they break the leader and get him to follow, again, everybody else will follow. Making sense here yet? Eugene, he's already given up all his plans and everything he needed, so he's not really going to have an impact. Abe, he's not really going to have an impact. So when you think about it that way, Michonne would have a huge impact. Michonne is the only one who has had a small screen time with every single group member this season. Some of it may have just been small, but she's had one-on-one time with every single person in Alexandria. We also know all of Michonne's backstory already. She was slowly telling to Carl over a season, using it to become close to him. We know her entire backstory. There's nothing new there that we haven't learned about her. All that's left is what she can do from here on. Michonne is also Rick's only voice of reason. The one person that would stand up to him when he was being batshit crazy. Without her, he can go any way. He can completely snap. Her death would not only impact the whole group, but it would be Rick's breaking point. Because first he loses his wife, then he loses the woman we thought was going to be his love interest with that annoying freaking kid. and the kid that shot Carl. And now there's Michonne. I think losing him, or losing Michonne, would be his final breaking point. Fear of getting close, and fear, like the fear of getting close to anyone, he would never do it again. But also he would be afraid to hold back, because Michonne got him to hold back and cool himself and calm down. So with Michonne gone, that opens a whole new road for Rick. Okay? It was also said that whoever it is, they will have to do an entire episode explaining it. So I think that the season 7 will start with the 4 of them in the truck. From the second they are caught, actually. Yeah. Be 4 of them from the second they're caught all the way up to the lineup, and then the death. So I don't even think we're going to know who dies until the end of the episode, honestly. I think they're going to do the go back, and we're going to watch it from when they caught them and put them in the truck, and all the behind the stuff that was going on with Negan's group setting up, and with little glimpses of Rick's group. That's how I think it. And then that way it's going to kind of explain some more and maybe point out why it's going to be Michonne with some flashbacks Michonne is going to have or something. I'm not 100% sure how they're going to get the story out there, but that's what I think. So those are just some of the reasons why I think it's going to be Michonne. We know it's not going to be Rick, and we know it's not going to be Carl, because Carl is Rick's leverage. Also, when he's standing in front of Rick, he says if anybody moves, and he goes like this, and he points towards Carl, will take the boy's eye out and feed it to his father. So we know it's not going to be Carl, and it's not going to be Rick. It also proves to us right there that it's going to be somebody on this side of Rick, because he's standing here and he points there and then points kind of shoulder-wise towards Rick in front of him. So we know it's somebody on this side of Rick. Again, the 4 that were captured. So I still think, so that's why I think it's going to be Michonne. She would have the biggest impact on the group. She's had time with everybody in the group and everybody in Alexandria. She is Rick's voice of reason. And it just seems to be a curse to fall in love with, date, sleep with, or anything with Rick Grimes. That is a curse. So, future women of The Walking Dead, you do not want Rick. It's a death sentence. Okay? No. Okay. Now, for all you people out there that are like, well, when we watched it and we rewatched it, you can't see the RV, or you can't see the headlights, or you can't see people sitting in the background. So whoever it is has this tree and this tree, but they can't see the RV and you can't see those headlights and stuff. Apparently you did not pay attention at all. It was, or you did not watch The Talking Dead. It was pointed out that they came down to the killing aspect. They wanted it to be a secret. Therefore, when it came time to videotape the actual killing, it was just the camera crew, and it was Jeffrey Dean Morgan and the camera with the blood on the top of it that he beat. And a couple of crew. All of the crying and the nose and the yelling were added in. None of that actually happened. They stated that in The Talking Dead, and as well as some other follow-up interviews that they have done over the time. They stated the only people on set during the death scene was Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And he even stated in many interviews he felt extremely weird at that point because it was just him and the camera and nobody else. So, if that stuff wasn't there, obviously you're not going to see it. They also purposely did that because they did not want it to be easy to figure out. They said there's hints and there's clues, and that the answer can be figured out, but they said they were not going to make it easy. Therefore, lining them up and looking for where the RV is, or looking for the trees, or looking for the headlights, things like that, not going to work because I purposely didn't put those parts in because they wanted us to have to think. They didn't want to make it easy for us. They wanted to throw us off. They wanted us to think about it all summer long. And they did. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm not the only one who sat and wondered all summer long. And I've had this discussion with so many friends to the point of they were totally leaning for somebody else. And then I went over my beliefs and what I think and my reasonings why. And now I have a group with me that are like, yeah, you know what? I think it's going to be Michonne. If it's not Michonne, I am going to be extremely shocked just because of all the lead up. You know, so I honestly don't know 100%. I'm never going to say I know 100% because I know I don't. I just know that my thought on it alone is it's Michonne, and I have a bunch of reasonings why. I can't say it's evidence because it's not evidence. It's just from what my perspective of it is, of what I've read, what I've seen from watching the show, plus what I've heard from the interviews, the Talking Dead, everything else. It leads me up to believe Michonne. If it is not Michonne, my second choice is going to be Abe. Okay? My first choice, of course, is Michonne. We all know it's not going to be Glenn because he dies in the comics. So he's out. He's safe. By whatever, he's just safe. If they actually killed him off, it would shock everybody. It would, because nobody's actually expecting it. We all want it to be Glenn in a way because it's supposed to happen from the comics, but it's not. Rosita has no impact. Rosita's really a nobody, and we do not know her story yet. We don't know her full background. We don't know Eugene's. We don't know Aaron's. We don't know a lot of people's backstories yet. The only people's backstories we really know when you think about it, right? We know Abe's. We know Michonne's. We know Rick's. We know Carl's. And we know Daryl's. And I'm not sure if I said any of those names twice. But everybody else in that lineup, we don't have all of their backstory yet. We haven't even gotten glimpses, really. We don't know much about Rosita before she met Abe. We've had a small little tidbit put in there, but that's it. But we don't know her backstory. We don't know Rosita yet, so I don't think it's going to be her. And I think she has a bigger part to play. They wouldn't start this whole love triangle. Sasha! I knew I would think of it. My brain is just not working, not enough coffee. They wouldn't throw in the love triangle idea of the way Abe broke up with Rosita and is now trying to do things with Sasha and then kill Rosita off prematurely before anything could really happen out of that. Right? Okay? So again, Michonne. My second guess would be Abe, only because Abe challenged him. When they were doing the lineup stuff, Abe kind of puffed up like a peacock and stared him down and be like, I dare you, I'm not going to back down to you type thing. So if I have a second guess, it's going to be Abe just for that, because he can't take out the leader because he needs to break the leader. He is going to take out the strongest. So those are my two guesses. Most of all, I think it is Michonne. I am almost certain it is Michonne. I'm actually going to be putting money down on this with some friends. It is Michonne, with Abe as my second. I would love to hear your thoughts and theories as well. So go ahead and put them down in the comments. I will read them. I've been trying to comment back, but I don't know. I have to figure out what's going on half the time. It keeps saying it can't. I try to reply to people's comments, and it's like, your comment cannot be posted at this time. And no matter how many times I try it, it's just not working. So I have to figure out what's going on there and why sometimes I can comment back and sometimes I can't. I don't know. But go ahead and put your thoughts in the bottom below in the comments. I'd love to hear who you think's going to go. Because it'd be awesome. And we all have different theories on it. Like right now I think the top is everybody thinks it's going to be Glenn and Abe and Aaron. Whatever reason, everybody's picking on Aaron because they all figure that The Walking Dead is going to cheap out and just kill Aaron off. But Aaron's a nobody. We don't have his story. He doesn't really have a big impact on the actual group. Maybe a couple of people in sorry, there was something, bug or something on my computer. Have like a bit of, I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. Brain's just not working today. Must be becoming a zombie. But yeah, no. Aaron, they wouldn't cheap out and kill Aaron. And Eugene gave his goodbyes, yes. But that was really just to throw us off. And we don't really know Eugene's story too much. And he's just finally starting to come into himself and be a survivor. So, I don't think he's ready to go yet. So leave your answers in the bottom. Let me know what you think of my theory. Yeah, I know I rambled on for like 25 minutes so far. Actually, pretty much 26. But it's a lot to go over. I know I probably missed some things. I probably double talked about some of the things. But in the end, it comes down to, it only makes sense. It opens up in Michonne's point of view. It's going to end in Michonne's point of view. And it ends in somebody's point of view. It's always been Michonne's point of view up until that lineup. And I believe it's Michonne's point of view every time you see the bat in somebody's face through a point of view. So, again, it only makes sense. It starts in Michonne's point of view. It's going to end in Michonne's point of view. Have a great one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye! Hey everybody, and thanks for watching. Click that like and give me a thumbs up. While you're at it, go ahead and over and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Any and all links are in the description below. Cheers and have a good one.